You are making the world a better place by listening to the Joy of Living podcast. This is your guide to achieving a more purposeful, powerful, and positive life. Join Barry Shore in unlocking the best version of you and becoming happier, healthier, and wealthier. And now, here's your ambassador of joy, Barry Shore.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking because you're always looking for and finding the good. You found good in abundance because you tuned in consciously and conscientiously to the Joy of Living with your humble host, Barry Shore, known as the Ambassador of Joy. Notice I didn't say the Ambassador of Joy. The Ambassador of Joy. And you tuned into this show for one reason and one reason only. And it's the best reason in the whole world because you care the most in the entire world about you. Y-O-U. And that's great because when you are the best you make the world a better place. You build more bridges of harmony, you create more joy, happiness, peace, and love in the world. We're going to talk a lot about love and expansion and evolution and thought process. It's really going to shape your thinking for the future. It's so wonderful. Just buckle up and get ready. In the meantime, I just want to share with you the reason you tuned in is because you know that on this show, we discuss the three fundamentals of life. And when you use these three fundamentals of life, the result is you'll be happier, healthier, and wealthier. Who doesn't want that? Now, of course, the three fundamentals of life are, number one, life, your life has purpose. And when you lead a purpose-driven life, number two happens. In this case, good number two, you go mad. Now, MAD is a wonderful acronym that stands for make a difference. Lead a purpose-driven life, you make a difference in the world. And the third fundamental is to uncover the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms. Simple example, this show is carried over the internet. Right now, over 515,000 people around the world are tuning in, watching or listening. And we urge you, please, just share this with 5 people. You want to share with 50 or 100, that's great. But at least 5 people, and they will touch 2.5+ million people around the world because we're bringing to you something really special. And that's why you tuned in. You know it. You're always urging your family and friends to join. That's why by the end of this year, we shall have close to 1 million people listening every single show. And that's really important. So this show is carried over the internet. Ask anybody, what does www stand for? And invariably, they'll tell you to do with the internet. Now, it's true, factually speaking. However, in our world, the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, www stands for what a wonderful world. And what is a word, right? W-H-A-T-A. And a big thank you and a tip in the hat and a big hello to Satchmo, Louis Armstrong, for enabling that song, What a Wonderful World, to go viral and not just touch tens of millions or hundreds of billions of people around the planet. And whenever you hear the opening bars of What a Wonderful World, what do you do right away? You can't help, you smile. Now, smile is one of the most important words you're going to be internalize, utilize, and leverage in your life because SMILE is a great acronym. It stands for Seeing Miracles in Life Every Day. That's right. Seeing miracles in life every day. Now, let me tell you a quick story. It's about me. Imagine if you can. I'm standing up in the morning, completely healthy and hearty, able to leap 12 buildings in a single bound. And that evening, I'm in the hospital, totally, completely paralyzed from my neck down. And it was not because of an automobile accident. It wasn't a spinal injury. It was a rare disease, took over my body and caused me to become what's called a quadriplegic. Nothing in the body moved. I couldn't communicate by blinking my eyes. I was 144 days in the hospital. I was in a hospital bed in my home for 2 years. I couldn't move. I was in a wheelchair for 4 years. I had braces on both my legs, my hips, and my ankles, and that was progress. Thank God today I'm able to be vertical and ambulatory with the help of a 7-foot walking wand. So I'm a triped, not a biped. Can't walk up a stair by myself. Can't walk up a curb by myself. I have help 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. However, you hear my voice. Positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, all because of one word. Smile. Seeing miracles in life every day. Now, I got to tell you, I am privileged to speak to millions of people around the world every month because of the podcast. And I don't travel much, but here and where I live in Henderson, Nevada, I'm asked to come and speak to people in person. And recently I spoke to a group of 1,127 people, and I'm telling the story about Barry Shore and seeing miracles in life. Some people raise their hand and say, hey, Barry Shore, I've been up for hours where I haven't seen any miracles. And I ask them, are you here? Can you hear? Can you stand still? I can't do that. Can you walk? I can barely do that. You have water, drink, you have food, you have place, sleep, family, your friends. Every single one of those is a miracle. And what's the proof? Simplest proof. 1 million people didn't get out of bed this morning. You know why? They died. By definition, if you're watching or you're listening, you didn't. Therefore, you're an obligation to live life to the full. And when we talk to Dan, right, in a few minutes, you're going to want to live longer because there's so much good happening in the world. The potential for bringing goodness is right here in our fingertips. Now, I just want to urge everybody to understand that, well, let's just take a quick story. My 8-year-old niece comes over to me a few weeks ago, and she says, Uncle Barry, can we spell smile S-M-I-E-L? I thought about it. Smile, sounds the same. Why not? After I'll come. Just because I know it stands for seeing miracles in everyday life. Out of the mouth of an 8-year-old. But what was she doing? She was creating the kind of world that she wants to live in. Now, CREATE is a fabulous acronym that stands for causing rethinking, enabling all to excel. That's the key, rethinking, what we call a shift in perspective. Now, you want to keep your F in place or the other stuff happens. You want to shift your perspective just a little bit, and then the world opens up to you. Then you can internalize, utilize, and leverage the 6 most important words you'll ever learn. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. How you choose to respond to any given situation determine your pathway in life and your trajectory. Now, before we bring on amazing Dan, and he is really amazing, I just want to warn him and all the new people listening, I do use a lot of 4-letter words. I even use the 4-letter FU word, and I do it because of the shock value, and it's fun. Now, of course, the 4-letter words that we use, because we live in the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, are love, life, hope, play, free, give, swim. And the 4-letter FU word is fun. Fun, that's right. F-U, capital N, capital N. So after the show, you see your family friends, a twinkle in your eyes, smile on your face, point your finger and say, F-U, everybody. Remember to add capital N, right? You say, what are you talking about? So I was listening to Barry Shore. He had on Dan Mapes. Wait till I tell you. You got their attention. Now you can share these amazing insights. So before we bring on Dan, I just want to urge everybody in the world to use the 2 most powerful words in the English language 3 times a day from now and the rest of your life, because you'll be happier, healthier, and wealthier. And these words are thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks stands for to harmonize and nurture kindness. Kind is a fabulous word that stands for keep inspiring noble deeds. I can't think of anybody at the moment that inspires noble deeds more than amazing, wonderful Dan Mapes. Dan, please say hello to 521,711 people around the world.
Barry, I think I speak for all your audience. You're just putting so much joy into the world. I really love it. So thank you. Thank you so much for doing everything you do. And thanks for having me on to share what we're working on.
Well, F you, Dan. Oh, what was last time? Somebody said F you and you laughed. So I would like to tell everybody what Dan is doing, has done. However, I won't do it because we'll take the rest of the show. Everything you want to know about Dan is going to be in the show notes. Don't take notes, lean in and experience what we're about to see. And really what we're doing is we're going on this rocket ship into the latter part of the 21st century. Now, it may only be the next decade or 2, and it's already going to make your mind expand. However, Dan's going to open up things. I will tell you 3 things that I love about Dan. One is that he is involved, as almost everybody, however, there's a difference here with AI. He understands that AI is really called active inference. That's what he calls AI, active inference. Now, I call AI always improving. He agrees with that. He's, however, a lot smarter than I, so we'll go with what he said. He's also the author of one of the most remarkable and important books that you'll ever be aware of. It's called The Spatial Web. And that's really important, by the way, the Spatial Web. And the third thing is that he loves sailing and diving and mountain biking, which means he's a real human being. He's not just an egghead, even though he is. And you can see it, by the way. See, I love people that are consciously bald because you actually are an egghead. That's good stuff. So let's just dive in, if with your permission, wonderful Dan, and let's talk about right away how AI is evolving, because you love this concept of evolution, mind evolution, and what it is that you, as an admitted leader in this next generation of AI, what is happening and how are you envisioning its progress, not just 100 years from now? Let's talk about 5 and 10 years from now.
Definitely, definitely. No, I mean, AI obviously is one of the hottest topics in the world right now. And if we could ever make a, digital mind that was as smart as a human, that would be really a major historical moment. And that's what everybody's kind of working toward here, you know. But I think it's important to put AI in the larger context. Human beings have tool making animals, from spears and bows and arrows to the plow to ships to whatever. I mean, over the course of the last 250,000 years that we've been on this planet, we're constantly making better tools all the time. And finally, we invent the wheel, and then you can have a horse pull a cart. You can do all kinds of things. But look where we've done with the wheel since then. I mean, we all have cars, highways, all these things that never even existed 300 years ago, and at this scale. So really, we're looking at an evolutionary process that's been going on with humans and their tools since the dawn of time. And it's really racing ahead now, because it's one thing to make tools out of stone, and then later out of steel, and then we invent machines and factories and all of that. But now we figured out how to make tools out of digital, just bits. And there's an infinite number of them, so there's no cost for a bit. So no raw materials to go get from another country or something. You can just make something that's really amazingly valuable and beautiful and touches everybody in the world, purely out of your mind, you know.
Okay, so let's unpack a few things here, because you put together, again, we are blessed to have a worldwide audience. 88% plus minus are under the age of 35. So they're going to be around for the next 50 plus years, which means that the world today, from the world 50 years from now, will be unrecognizable in some level. People will still may ingest food and do other things. However, many things that let's talk about tools. So a tool that was very cool, let's say like a handheld, something called a communication device, some people call it a smartphone, that exists today, may not even have a physical presence 10, 20, 30, 50 years from now. I think that's part of what you're talking about. We're dealing with tools that are actually, like you say, bits. I'm going to think of them more as agents of light, light beams. And it's really what the human mind can create, because if you can conceive it and believe it, you can achieve it. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think you've got so many cool sayings, Barry. I really loved it. I loved your whole smile analogy and all the other things. No doubt about it. I mean, the evolution of life is related to partly through the evolution of ideas, the evolution of our tools, understanding how to put our societies together, and clearly, every once in a while, we go through a really big change. We went through a really big change in the Renaissance. After the printing press was invented in 1450, in the 1500s, we had this huge explosion of ideas and science and art and religion and government and everything changed, and we went through a Renaissance, and we left the age of kings and queens behind and stepped into the age of modern governments. And so we're at another precipice like that right now. We are at a juncture point where we've been in the industrial or the machine age for the last few hundred years, but now with robotics, I mean, robots can run all those machines. So we're stepping into a new world we've never had to deal with before. And we're going to have a lot of robots in our lives and artificial intelligence everywhere. And what's going to happen is what happened at the last Renaissance is we got a huge surge of wealth and abundance. And the world we're living in right now, the average person lives better than the king did back at that time. And so we're probably on the front edge. No one can see the future perfectly, but we're probably on the front edge of a new, huge renaissance with a huge wealth creation. And what looks in 2100, it starts to look a little bit like Star Trek. I mean, there's so much wealth, you don't even think about money anymore.
Okay, I want to talk about money in the next section for two reasons. Number one, because it does impinge on everybody's life at the moment, and it may not in, let's say, the year 2100, just as an example. I'm going to ask you a down and dirty question. And this is, for me, something that's been weighing on me let's say, certainly for the past 30, 40 years. And when I began to even hear about this idea of AI, of artificial intelligence, when will we have robots that will be able to do what we'll call backbreaking work, picking strawberries, picking fruit, things that human beings have to do now that are very menial, very manual, and yet, how should we call it, almost debasing when it comes to the human condition. Because I want human beings to use what they have, which is their brains, rather than their brawn. Am I being clear with that? Is AI capable of helping us?
100%. Yeah.
When
Yeah,
will we
100%. You put your finger right. You put your finger right on it. I mean, obviously, you can see that there are robots in the world now, and they are working. But I think we're going to see what might be called the robot explosion, kind of starting next summer and running through 2030, because the humanoid robots are getting better, and the industrial robots are getting better, and they're getting cheaper. I think the latest robot dog I saw was down under $10,000 now, and so a farm or whatever could afford to have some robots out there, like you say, doing backbreaking work or construction or other areas. Probably won't be 100% right away, but maybe by 2035, 2040, 10, 15 years from now, there might be more than 1 billion robots, or maybe even more. So at that point, they're kind of in our lives, and they're delivering things and doing all kinds of stuff,
So this is wonderful. There's two pieces I'd like to share with everybody around the world, because I call it the American mind. Most of our listening audience, of the over 500,000 people, is outside the United States of America geographically. In my humble opinion, because I get constant information from people all over the world, everybody has an American mind. They want to live here, but even if they can't live here, they want this mind that's called, it's possible. That's the American mentality, and it's built on 3 letters, FBC, faster, better, cheaper. That's really what you're talking about. So as I'm 76 chronologically, I have a passion for history. I just love it because it allows me to see what was, and it allows me the ability to sometimes see what can be and what is, like you just mentioned about interacting with robots. So when I think of, let's say, the farm, I think of this great picture of threshing machines from the 1920s, the combines, that literally somebody is driving and it's harvesting an entire field that used to take 100 people. I'm making up a number. It could have been 200 people, it could have been 400. The point is that it was a person driving relatively ancient technology, in the 1920s, driving this combine harvester, which not only harvested the food, put it into a system that separated stuff, whether it was corn or wheat, and out comes an almost finished product behind it. And now you can take that and, let's say, faster, better, cheaper, miniaturize it and have robots doing that, because they just announced, Amazon just made in one of their newsletters, they just passed the number 1 million in terms of robots. There are more than 1 million robots working at Amazon fulfillment centers. That's a number, isn't it, Dan?
A very significant number, no doubt about it. And it's in all our science fiction movies too. I mean, whether it's 3CPO or Data
Right.
from Star Trek or whatever. I mean, yeah, clearly we're excited about it. I mean, the world's terrified and excited about the changes. I mean, human beings like a little bit of predictability in their life. So even though Renaissance sounds good, hey, gee, might be get to superabundance in the future and everybody lives amazingly long lives, longevity expands. But we have to let go of the way things are sometimes to get there. And so that's the scary part. So I think these moments in history, and we're living through one right now, are exciting and frightening, you know. And so on the one side, the possibilities are amazing. On the other side, gee, if the industrial age, which we've been living in for the last few hundred years and has guaranteed jobs and 9 to 5, 40-hour work weeks and work until you retire and get a pension, if that all goes away, what are we going to do next? And of course, we're going to have to create new structures as we've done in the past. And this
I
is what we
love
do.
Okay, so wait a minute. On that cliffhanger, that high note, don't go away. We have more Dan Mapes. And the other side is we have sponsors that love us. That's how you get the show. It doesn't cost anything, and it's wonderful. So we wouldn't have these sponsors if we didn't think they're worth your time. We'll be right back with more Dan Mapes looking at the future. Don't go away.
Hello, skincare connoisseurs. If you think you have tried everything in skincare, you are going to love what I am about to tell you. I'm pharmacist Benjamin I. Fuchs. I'm a dermatology pharmacist, and what I've discovered in my compounding pharmacy after decades of working with patients with skin traumas and skin diseases is the missing link in skincare is topical essential nutrition. And because of this missing link, we're not maximizing the potential of topical skincare. We're leaving skin beauty and skin health on the table. And that's why I formulated my Truth Treatments. Listen, the skin's an organ. It needs and wants and craves nutrients, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids, and plant-derived minerals, and now it can get them in super high concentrations in my Truth Treatments. Originally formulated for dermatologists and their patients, now they're available to you. Check them out today at truthtreatments.com, and I know you are going to love the truth.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved immortal beings, and good-looking people. You're good-looking because you're looking for and finding the good. Our cup runneth over with good. His name is Dan Mapes. He is the author of Spatial Web, but more importantly, he's the author and the guide to what is happening now in the greatest movement in the history of humanity. I think that's not an understatement, is it, Dan? This is the greatest movement in the history of humanity. Am I correct?
No, absolutely. If we're able to achieve human equivalent intelligence out of a computer, and of course that's just the beginning, it'll get smarter in the future. That's a piece of history. It's like fire. I mean, it's like a big one.
Let's speak about fire for the moment. And I'll put it into a different context. You know, there's a because we talked about such superabundance that everybody will have access to medicine, to wealth, longevity, food, in a much simpler way than people do now. Right now, there are still billions of people on the planet who are not gaining benefit from all the wealth that exists. Now, a lot of it has to do with structure. The human nature, the human condition is still rooted in the ancient world of fire. You know, even though we have all these remarkable machines and things happening, the human nature is still grounded in a very ancient, unfortunate process called lack, or thinking of lack. I'd like to talk to you about, there's a very interesting man. His name is Ray Dalio, D-A-L-I-O. Again, don't take notes, just everything will be in the footnotes. And I'm going to make it very short because I'd like you to speak to it because it's exactly what you're talking about. So Ray Dalio is one of the most successful hedge fund managers in the world. And he comes from a relatively, not a privileged background. He was able to build his business using his mind and computers. In other words, he used the tools that are available. And he manages with his firm $150± billion. It's not small money. It's almost as much as Elon Musk is worth. Okay, So put it in, but the point is, he said that there are 5 big forces that exist in the world. And these are the forces that we need to be aware of, because unless and until we understand them, we could be dooming ourselves. And I'll just go through them very quickly. One of them has to do with money and debt. So money can be abundant. In other words, the resource called money. However, debt could sink any organization, even the United States of America. You can have too much debt, and it causes constriction and contraction rather than expansion. Another one is what's called internal conflict, which can happen in any country, more so oftentimes in a very, in quotation marks, advanced culture like ours. The United States of America, Britain, France right now, in Russia, China. Internal conflict is a problem. Number 3 is, he says, geopolitical things. Well, you have the United States, you have Russia, you have China. These are plate tectonic type of things that can cause all kinds of problems in the world. No matter how good all our stuff is, the tools may be used for the wrong purpose. And then, of course, there's things called acts of nature, whether it's volcanoes or eruptions or diseases. But the one I want to mention to you is that he says, because of those 4, he calls them the negative forces. He says there's one force, though, that can balance out and override all of them. And this is where you come in. And that's man's inventiveness. Our ability to move forward from, like you said, fire, the wheel, the printing press, commerce. The ability, commerce to me is one of the greatest things in the world, because it says human beings can actually interact to each other's benefit. In other words, not that one wins, one loses, but to mutual benefit. And when you work with that mentality, then the world of Dan Mapes can come into play. That's when the spatial web can actually become reality. So I'd like you to speak to that, if you'd be so kind.
Great, Barry. Great questions. So we've had the World Wide Web now for the last 25 years, 30 years now. And that's created websites. They're 2D pages. And, there's catalogs. We can order things and buy things. There's things to read. There's news. There's education. There's entertainment. It's all on there. It's really great. But we live in a 3D world. And so we've had 25 years of a 2D web. But in technology now, we've also had 25 years of 3D computer games. So a whole generation of people have been playing in these big 3D worlds. Well, the chips are getting faster and the network's getting faster. Oh, we can have a 3D web. Why would we want a 3D web? Oh, well, instead of, if you want to shop in a beautiful shop, you could walk into like a beautiful world that they've designed, and they can recognize your avatar and they can speak to you and all kinds of very natural things, almost extending the physical world into the digital. And so that is now possible. We just completed work over the last 5 years on the Spatial Web protocols. They'll be coming out here in 2026. They're being used in test mode now, but that allows anybody anywhere in the world to build a metaverse, a 3D world. Could be for commerce, education, medicine, whatever, just like websites, but now it's in full 3D. And then you can load it up just like a website onto the spatial web. And then I could go from a Google metaverse to a Facebook metaverse to an Amazon metaverse as easily as I go between websites now. So that's an important next step. And then the AI that we're all hearing about lives in those metaverses and handshakes and handles money and helps you find things and all this stuff that we're kind of doing on the World Wide Web now, but really at an amazing scale. And of course, once you've got a 3D web, then you can have copies of cities. So then that opens up something called smart cities, where AI can help manage traffic and electricity and all kinds of things and make the city function more effectively for everybody there, and on and on and on. So, I mean, these things, the spatial web is really important because the internet already covers the entire surface of the earth, but you can change that huge machine. That's 40 billion computers plugged into the global internet with fiber optic cables and satellites and everything. You can change it just by dropping a new protocol onto it, makes it function better. So we have a new protocol now out called the Spatial Web Protocol.
Spatial web. So let's talk about a word that you use that touches me, and it's the P word, and it's not purpose, and it's not pleasant, even though it is what you're describing is very pleasant potentially. It's power. Now, when people hear the word power, they sometimes think of power in the negative. I want to hear about power in the positive. Where do we get enough power to harness to be able to power all these things? I'll give you an example from the 19th century. In the 19th century, when Thomas Edison, you have to look him up if you don't know, Thomas Edison finally was able to create an electric light bulb that had a filament in it that could last more than 32 seconds. So one of the things that he mentioned was, and he said this not tongue in cheek, he was very careful about it because he was a great businessman. He said the electric light bulb is a wonderful, fabulous, beneficial invention. However, what I care more about is I want to be able to measure the amount of usage that people have and the power that they use the electric light bulb so I can charge them for it. Because by doing that, he was able to deliver faster, better service, cheaper. So whatever it might have cost, let's say when he first came out in the 1890s, by the time 10, 20 years went by, it was lowered by 50%. And by the time another 5 years went by, it was down another 95% down, which is what you're talking about. The cost of computing is minuscule compared to 20 years ago, let alone 50 years ago. So where do we get our power from, Dan? Is it solar? Is it nuclear? I mean, it's obviously going to be a combination of many things. What do you see as the most beneficial, least expensive, most applicable source of power?
Sure. Well, there's two ways to get at it. One is to lower the use of the power by the technology, so make more efficient technology that uses half the power. And then on the other side, as you point out, we're seeing really great advances in fusion power. So I would imagine over the next 15 years or so, we'll have fusion, which is non-radioactive nuclear power. It doesn't create a danger. It's really clean. And then, boy, you look at the amount of solar panels that are being put in all over the world, and other breakthroughs that are occurring in electric vehicles and things. And yeah, you can kind of see that we've got. I mean, we have this major nuclear reactor called the sun, 90 miles offshore. We're learning how to harvest that energy.
By the way, I love that comment. 90 million miles offshore. It was such a beautiful image. I'm going to use that with your permission someday.
It's just the right distance, you know.
This is very fun. So inside baseball stuff. Dan lives in an area that's on the Southern California coast. And just 26 miles away from where he lives, whereas I used to live, is an island called Catalina. So you can say just off the coast of California is Catalina. It's 26 miles away. And the sun is just, 90 miles offshore, 90 million miles, because, and I'm being very not facetious, distance may have no relevance anymore once you get a breakthrough, like you just mentioned. You're talking about fusion power. So there's, at least from my perspective as a layperson, there are two major uses for nuclear material. There's the fission, and then there's fusion. Up until now, we've been using mostly fission, and it's mostly been used for, again, nuclear reactors, thankfully in a positive way, and to make explosives in the negative way. However, fusion is, first of all, more powerful, more wonderful, and doesn't have the downside of being explosive or as explosive. I mean, you can control it much more. And you're right. So you're seeing that fusion power is right around the corner.
Well, you have to look at these things in historical terms. Like you said, we've only had electricity for a little over 100 years. I mean, historically, even that's right around the corner.
Yes,
But yeah, I think we'll see. We're already seeing positive fusion reactions at Lawrence Berkeley Laboratories, and that's still in prototype stage, but it's working. And so, yeah, probably by 2040, let's say, AI will help. One of the things AI can do is simulate possible futures. and possible mathematical quantum states and things like that. So with AI, we'll probably be able to understand the fusion process even better and maybe develop a better
Opportunity. What an opportunity. I'm going to use 2 4-letter words right now. Free gift. Free gift. Yes, you can have a copy of my best-selling book, The Joy of Living, How to Slay Stress and Be Happy, the ebook version for absolutely free. All you have to do is send an email to me, Barry, Barry, at barryshore.com, and in the heading, the subject line, just write free gift. It's as easy as that. This is a life-changing, life-enhancing opportunity. Barry at barryshore.com. You'll be glad you did. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Free gift. Do it now. Take the action. Make it happen right now. Best wishes. Bye.
will just in generally help us solve almost every problem we're currently. If we've got the smartest people in the room right now, we'll probably have a 150 to 200 IQ. By 2040, you might have an AI with a 3,000 IQ. And so it can solve all the cancers and things like that. So it's really a big things that we see as problems. The AI will simply see as opportunities to solve.
So you just stepped into something that expanded my mind and thought process. And I want to talk about it because I want to get into the human element for a little bit, not a little, much deeper. So you said, let's take an example. You have a room with people that have IQs 150 to 200. Those are what we'll call, for want of a better term, the super genius level in today's world. And then you introduce AI, which we call, like you said, a 3,000 IQ. However, not only does it have a 3,000 IQ, in other words, the possibility, it can compute at that fast rate. In other words, what the smartest people can do, and it might take them, pick a number, a year, the 3,000 IQ AI enhanced can do that, let's say, in a day, just making an assumption. Well, that saves a lot of time and energy and creates, like you said, the spatial possibility. What I want to ask is, and I want to, obviously it may be an unanswerable question, but it touches me in a way that hurts and gives me a lot of hope. Let's take 5 cities, Los Angeles, Detroit, Michigan, New York City, Atlanta, Georgia, and New Orleans. And let's take the poorest people in those cities. Forget the racial background and all kinds, the poorest people, and take 1,000, let's say 5,000 kids, 10-year-old kids, male and female, from each one of those cities. So you have 50,000 people. By definition, every human being has some capability of computing power. They may not all be geniuses. You give them an IQ test. Let's say they all come out an average. The average is 95. We'll call it 100 just as a number. How do we as a country embrace these 50,000 young beings and say, we want to invest in you and give you every single opportunity to be not only the best you can be, but that you can contribute to the benefit of humanity using AI? How do we do something like that?
It's one of the reasons that we started our company. Our company is called Versus AI. Versus means space, like universe, versus, and AI. So it's a combination of spatial and AI. And young people are all playing computer games, already playing 3D world computer games. So what we want to now do is bring kind of personal development and education into these spatial computing environments so that young people have fun playing games that cause them to evolve their minds and their possibilities and everything. And so that's what we're really dedicated to, is generally sharing the beauty of this new intelligence explosion with everybody in the world. And that's because the internet is now gone everywhere. And so even these smartphones, you can make these things in China for like $30 each. I mean, so pretty soon we're going to have glasses. They're going to be exactly the same. They'll be really inexpensive. And so you get a whole generation then of young people having access to the greatest library of knowledge in the world, the entire World Wide Web, with advanced artificial intelligence teachers that can show you things, or link to live teachers. I mean, professors at Oxford or Harvard or UCLA or whatever could always be online with their courses, so anybody in the world could sit in and take the class. And you can kind of see we could have an intelligence explosion, not just in the AI, but in the human as well. So in a way, it could be that as the AI evolves, humans are co-evolving with it. And so we're actually growing up. And if you take anybody here from this time and take them back 1,000 years, people would go like, "You're the smartest person in the world, easy." You know, that's just an average person. I mean, even 200 years ago, just an average person, a working person, can buy a ticket on a jet plane and fly to Paris or something. I mean, no king or queen even had that. So we don't appreciate how far we've come, I think. I mean, we are already in superabundance. It's not evenly distributed, but by 2100, I think we've got it. There's so much that nobody's left behind by 2100. And if you've got psychological problems from being mistreated as a child or something, there'll be all kinds of therapy and a lot of things available to you. So the things that are costly now, because there's only so many competent humans that can deliver this service. Suddenly now we can expand that, because the AI will be able to learn from the very best of us, each field, and then be able to share that with everybody. So it doesn't mean we're going to replace humans, but it means that not everybody can have access to great medical care in all parts of the world, and now they'll have access to that. So we're spreading out the intelligence and the knowledge we have now to pretty much every single person. And the smartphone is just the first step. I mean, these things are not trivial. It's a piece of equipment, and 4 billion people are holding these things right now. I mean, it's amazing. So we're hungry for growth, you know.
If you didn't think about it until now you should. Dan looks at the future in a very positive, purposeful, powerful, pleasant way. And that's so fabulous. Now, by the way, I said we have sponsors and lovers. We're going to go to a break. Don't go away, because we got more Dan Mapes on the other side of this. And as I say, up the revolution. We'll be right back after this brief message.
Oh, you're great, Barry. I really love your energy. It's so nice.
Beautiful, bountiful, beloved order beings, and good looking people. Remember, you're good looking, so always looking for and finding the good. Found good in abundance. His name is Dan Mapes. He's the author of one of the greatest and most important books that exist now, and it's called The Spatial Web. And because it's a different kind of web than you're used to. If you think the web is cool now, and it is, it's just going to get more and more cool, and it's going to evolve in a very, as he mentioned and he said, in a spiral way. And it's an evolution that every 5 years, and I'm just using these terms now as an example, it may be 5 or 10 times more powerful than it was 5 years previous. And you keep doing that, you're going to really up the evolution. Now, I happen to define AI as meaning always improving. Some people call it artificial intelligence. I like always improving, because that's what I care about personally, Dan, is like you said, you're saying, and it's a great vision, that by the year 2100, everybody on the planet will have access not just to, a smartphone, but the most important things: food, water, medicine, care. And when I talk about care, it means physical, mental, spiritual, and a connectedness that doesn't really exist today. It's a hope. Like you said, 4 billion people have this communication device that some people call a smartphone. Okay, but however, right now there are 8 billion people on the planet. So it's not as if we want just 8 billion people to have one of these things. It's what can people do with it? And the most important thing is the ability to, what I'll call, break down barriers so we can will open up a greater sense of belonging. Is that how you see the world?
Yeah, completely. We're in complete shared vision there, Barry. I mean, a lot of people don't realize these things that we call these smartphones, these communication devices or computing devices. It has a chip in it, and that has so much power in it. Okay, if we go back 25 years, the only computer that had as much power in it as the chips in our smartphones was a Cray 2 supercomputer. Cost $35 million.
Wait,
Now,
wait,
let's just
wait,
say,
I have to tell people. Remember, don't take notes, but in the show notes, you're going to look it up, the Cray computer, and it's going to blow your mind what he just said.
so the Cray was the fastest computer in the world, and I think you probably only 100 companies had Crays. They were really expensive. But if you had we were doing this interview in 1995, and I said to you, you said, "Well, what's the future going to be like in 2020?" I said, "Well, see that Cray computer over there, that Cray 2 supercomputer? You go, yeah, that's the most amazing thing we've ever made. We're going to give everybody a Cray. There's going to be 4 billion Crays on the planet, all connected through this network, and on it you can order anything from Amazon, you can learn anything on YouTube, you can meet people on Facebook, you can do all these things, and it's pretty much for free. I mean, it's not that expensive, you know." And you'd look at me like, yeah, right. You're just completely crazy. But that's exactly what we did. And we did it. And so now we're going to do something even more, because the way exponential curves go is they kind of go like this. So it's like exponential is 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. It just doubles every period. And so the curve just goes like, whoa. And so when you're here, 1, 2, 4, you project out, oh, that'll take us another 30 years. But you don't realize the curve is going to go up. And that's what's happening with AI. That's what's happening with robotics. And really, we're stepping into what I would call a science fiction future. And that's one of the reasons we love science fiction movies so much. They kind of help us experience into it. Unfortunately, Hollywood has to make them scary or we won't go watch them. But really, I think we're stepping into an exciting science fiction future. And we're right on the front edge of it. And I think a lot of the people that are alive now that are listening to this podcast may surprise themselves. There are visionaries out there that are working in longevity medicine right now. And Kurzweil, I think you know Ray Kurzweil. Ray Kurzweil is one of them. He's going, if you're alive in 2035, there's a good chance you might be alive in 2135, because we're figuring out how we stop aging here in the next 10, 20 years. So, yeah, I don't know exactly when it's going to happen, he's saying, but in that zone from 2030 to 2040, we may stop aging. And so, so the message to your friends is like, hey, hang in there, don't die. and then catch the wave, you know, because it's one of the biggest areas AI can help us with is in our diets and the amount of vitamins and different things we're taking, and analyze our blood and stuff like that to really keep us in this sweet zone and really super healthy and really living to be 150 years of age or something, you know.
And I want to emphasize that one of the issues that Dan is mentioning here, and let's just take the number 150 or 200 years of age. Notice I didn't say 200 years old. We're going to be reshaping our vocabulary, because see, to be at 200, someone could envision now somebody hunched over a cane or sitting in a chair, etc. It's really 200 years as if you're 40. And that's part of the dynamic that really enables me to have such a desire and a hope for not only humanity, but the future of humanity, where people recognize that living long and living well means that we're going to be shaping our understanding of how we communicate and how we encourage each other with positive, purposeful, powerful, pleasant kind of understanding to unite and bring this about. Am I right on that, Dan? And that's really part of what this means, is that we want to have a world that has no geography that impedes people's ability to work together, because the people in whatever the name of the country is now, will be all working towards that goal of longevity with joy and happiness. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, no, 100%, Barry. Yeah, completely. No, I mean, when you put a vision out there like that, you could argue that the way that our culture evolves, the way that our society evolves, is people. It's a competition between what's the best possible vision, and so it's important to say those visions out into the world so that they're there, and then we can navigate toward the visions we really want to get to. Because historically, that's how we've done it. I mean, the United States of America was. The Constitution was put together by a small group of European wars and the problem between religion and state and all the fights around all that. Let's have a vision of a new kind of society. And so they wrote a constitution. And so we're here. So I think vision is really important. It's important that if you have a positive vision, put it out there and then start to figure out how we migrate from here to there. And really, that's how we get there. I mean, there's no other way. If you have a purely negative point of view of the world, you're going to get a negative result. So, but if you actually can see where we could get to with more equality, more wealth, a superabundance around the planet, long lives, and we can actually get there. And actually, all the antecedents for what we're talking about already exist. We're not waiting on some magic thing. We can actually take what we got and build on it. Then I think that's really, really hopeful. And then that gives us a purpose right there. There's the purpose. So let's create the world we want to live in.
So this is, like I said in the beginning, the beautiful acronym for the word create, causing rethinking, enabling all to excel. That's what we're doing here. And again, to go back to the Ray Dalio and his 5 pieces, yes, there could be upheavals and debts and money and internal conflicts in nations. However, man's inventiveness with vision that is shared by the main players in the world. So just as there are people in the United States of America that have a positive vision, there are people in China and India. I mean, I am most hopeful about 2 places in the world, and they are India as a country and Africa as a continent. India has has done what you're saying AI can do. In 25 or 30 years, India has come from being a very deep socialist state to an almost entrepreneurial capitalist state. And it's enriching an entire group of people called middle class. Now, it happens to be they have 1.3 billion people. So now you have a middle class equal to the number of people in the United States of America, not same in this terms of wealth. However, they could easily have 500 or more million people in the middle class. Africa wants the ability to have a shared wealth. So even the most greedy of dictators recognizes that it's in their own best interest to allow their country people to have access, and they'll make even more money. Greedy people like more. Once they recognize that, the power to be unleashed by the human mind is what I think is what I'm gaining from you, Dan. And that's why I said what I really want is that the kids today that are 10 years old, that are living in circumstances that we will call constricting. They live in places that other people call the ghettos. And I want them to have purpose. I want them to get out of bed in the morning, bounding out and saying, I want to play games. I want to play with this. I want to do that again, because their vision of the future themselves will be enhanced. And when you do that for 10-year-olds and they don't have to worry about a bullet coming through the window, guess what can happen? We will have the world that you, Dan, want to see.
Oh yeah, I mean, no doubt. I mean, you have to put your money where your mouth is, right? You have to, if you got the vision, then you have to work to realize the vision. So I started a company. I mean, it was just me and my partner, Gabriel Rene. He's just an awesome brother. We've been dear friends for 25 years, and we said, look, okay, the odds are way against us. It's 10 companies survive after 3 or 4 years. very few of them can make a radical breakthrough in something like artificial intelligence. and so, but you can't win the game if you're not in the game, and so you have to take your shot.
Dan,
And so we.
that's my line. That's my most favorite line. You can't win the game unless
But
you're
it's
in
true.
the game.
That's true. But then the other thing is you can't get to your smile metaphor, miracles. If you don't step into the impossible, then you'll never realize that it was actually inevitable. The
Wait a
impossible is
minute. I
simply
love that. By
we
the way,
can't see the way.
right. And remember what impossible stands for. Impossible
No,
means
what?
I'm possible.
Yeah, completely. That's exactly it. So when you start a tech company, I mean, the odds are really against you. So
Right.
you've really got to
And by the
be
way,
able to see the
the
possible
beauty,
and the impossible.
what Dan is telling you, the beauty is that the odds are stacked for you, not against you. The odds are in our
Completely.
favor.
Right. Right. And I think,
Difference.
again, if you're coming from purpose, which you, I think, rightly describe as one of the key factors here, if you really have a vision for a planet that works for everybody, then you're going to get amazing help. I mean, miracles happen. And so really, we've built a really beautiful company, raised over $100 million, built this new piece of software. And by the way, it's the first piece of software that does what you say, always improving. So if you look at something like OpenAI, they have the wonderful program called ChatGPT. But they started with GPT-1, then GPT-2, then GPT-3, then GPT-4, and GPT-5. But that means that it's not always improving. They have to, when they finish 3, they got to start working on 4. Well, that's like building a machine. Oh, then you get to use that machine while they make the next one. But what we really want is AI that grows up like a person, learns every day, lives online. There's no reprogramming needed. It's there functioning. That's what we created. And the reason we were able to do that is we partnered with the world's number one cited neuroscientist in England at University College London, the big neuroscience center. And we cracked the code. And really, he did, to be honest with you. It's called active inference AI, based on this principle, a scientific principle called the free energy principle. And that unlocked a self-evolving AI. So it learns just like a child. A 5-year-old turns into a 10-year-old without having to go into the hospital every year and get a new chip. She's learning every day. And so we've got the first AI that does that. And that's what we're releasing now. That's why it's so historic and exciting. And probably why you're having me on this show, because that's a breakthrough, a fundamental breakthrough. Because once you've got a self-evolving AI, then there's no upper limit. It's just like us.
Okay,
We've
so
evolved over the last 100,000 years, and the AI will now evolve forever.
you just caused me to think of an acronym for your name. May I share it with you?
Please, yeah, sure.
Dan, DAN, dynamically awakening, nurturing.
Oh yeah, good. That's actually very nice. I like that one. I'll remember that. I really like it. And that
Dynamically
is
awakening, nurturing.
exactly. I think that's really well said. That is our goal. You know what I mean? As a people, to take care of our health, take care of our families, take care of our communities, and ultimately take care of the planet and everybody living on it. I mean, it's just a natural unfolding, and luckily we now have things like artificial intelligence that can travel over the networks and touch everybody. And so, if a smartphone is valuable, imagine what having a powerful AI. I mean, we see the movies. For instance, a lot of people have seen the movie called Iron Man, and in there, Tony Stark has a personal assistant, an AI assistant called Jarvis. And Jarvis is great because Jarvis helps him build things and runs tests and do all kinds of stuff. But they got one thing wrong in the movie. Jarvis is made out of software. Well, one of the first things you do to Jarvis is say, make 8 billion copies of yourself and give everybody Jarvis. Oh, that's what's about to happen.
Wow. Okay, wait a minute. I'm loath to say the words I'm about to say. However, this is the world we live in today. We're coming to a close on our time together. Dan, I have 3 quick questions for you. You ready?
Sure.
Number 1, will you come back again?
Anytime, Barry. You're putting out so much beautiful energy into the world. Here to support you and share everything we're doing, of course, too. So we're
Woo!
coming from the same place. Result.
Thank you. Thank you. Number 2 question, Dan Mapes. You have 80 seconds to answer this. What is your most fervent desire?
Oh, no, I think you touched on being able to give a planet to our children, our grandchildren, and our great grandchildren. And they look back and go, they made a turn there and created a really beautiful world that we've inherited. And thank you so much. You know what I mean? Because it's our job. I mean, it's our watch right now,
That's beautiful. Thank you. Number 3, may I give you a hug in front of 527,917 people around the world? Here we come.
Very, very, absolutely. But you're giving everybody online a big hug. I can tell.
Right,
You're just such a love bug, and so wonderful what you do in the show.
Thank you. Heartfelt. Hug stands for heartfelt, unlimited giving. 1, 2, 3. And of course, you listen to The Joy of Living with your humble host, Barry Shore, the ambassador of joy, an amazing Dan Mapes who giving you a glimpse of the future. Now, I got to tell you something. This show is not about Dan, fabulous fellow that he is, or about Barry, great guy. This show is about you becoming the best you possible, because in you, the best you make the world a better place. You build more bridges of harmony, create more joy, happiness, peace, and love in the world. Because we discussed the 3 fundamentals of life. Number 1, your life has purpose. And when you lead a purpose-driven life, you go mad. Mad stands for make a difference. And then the 3rd is to uncover the power in the sequence, everyday words and terms. WWW, what a wonderful world. And you'll be happier, healthier, and wealthier. Smile, seeing miracles in life every day. Or as my 8-year-old niece says, seeing miracles in everyday life. Create the kind of world you want to live in. Causing rethinking, listen to Dan, rethinking, enabling all to excel. Use 4-letter words. Remember the ones that we use. Live in the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. Love, life, hope, play, free, give, swim, and tell the world to F you. Capital N, capital N. So after the show, you see your family friend, twinkle in your eyes, smile on your face, point that finger, tell them to F you. Capital N, capital. You got their attention. Now you can share with them the world of the year 2100 or even 2050. It's so much fun. And remember to use the 2 most powerful words in English language twice a day from now and the rest of 3 times a day from now and the rest of your life. And these 2 words are thank you, thank you, thank you. To harmonize and nurture kindness, and a blessing from wonderful Dan and Barry. Go forth, live exuberantly, spread the seeds of joy, happiness, peace, and love. Go mad, go make a difference. Dan, don't go away.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Joy of Living podcast. Now that's another step towards your healthier, happier, and wealthier life. Never hesitate to do good in the world, no matter what the situation. Join us for another upbeat discussion next time at barryshore.com. And be sure to leave a rating and subscribe to the show to get more conversations like this. And remember to share it with your family and friends too. See you on the next episode.